Hey, good evening. It's my first of the week. Should have been Monday, but for the holiday yesterday, I did a Facebook post that said I was going to do it today instead. So this is my Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but starting on Tuesday this week. So hey, Jody and Jeff. So anyways, what I've been doing is, gosh, I think this is week number 14. And I have been on here Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I've missed a couple days, couple Fridays, just because of things going on. And I kind of felt a prompting from God to do this. Hey, Judy, to get on here and to share my journey through fear, anxiety, panic attacks, depression, something I struggled with for about 25 years, from the time I was 11 until I was in my later 30s. And now I've been free for a little bit over 20 years. So I have been on here giving nuggets of, I don't want to say information, giving nuggets to help people, giving actual things that people can say, oh, giving you something to think about, giving you to something to walk away with, to say, wow, that's a piece, something of what I could do. This is something that I could do, just things that will help you and that will encourage you and that will give you hope. 40 million, said this before, 40 million Americans, or in this country alone, suffer with some form of anxiety disorder. Hey, Rebecca, Becky, I'm reading it. So, of some sort, and that's probably a guesstimate, I would say. I'm not quite sure what they base that on, but that's a whole lot of people. And what I've said before is, truly when I began this journey, this struggle, when I was 11, back in 1971, you can figure out how old I am, right? We didn't have internet. We didn't have any of this thing. I couldn't Google what was going on. I didn't tell my parents until I was 16. So I went, from 11 to 16, 5 years, and said nothing and just no clue what was happening to me. But I wasn't talking to anybody. I wasn't not at all. And even though we have so much at our fingertips, we can Google it, we know we're not alone. Truly at that point in time I felt so incredibly alone. I could have I've said this, I would think of the world, the whole world, and I would close my eyes and I would think I am truly the only person who feels like this. It was so horrible, and so I just thought there's no way anybody else feels like this. This isn't happening to anybody else. And even though we know that's not true. Hey, Cheryl and Sherry. Even though we know that's not true, even though you can, you know that you're not the only one because you can look it up, you still feel alone. You do, you still feel alone. You still feel, because a lot of it is spent you're at home, you're in, and the waves of anxiety, the waves of panic, they come in and, truly you still feel isolated and alone with this. And that was a huge reason for my doing this too, is just so that people know you are not alone. You are absolutely not alone, and to let you know that you can break free. A lot of what I've said, I told you this is week number 14, and I think I've done 37 videos. I have a YouTube channel now. You can go on my wall. I put a link to that. I'll put another one today too. But so I put the videos on YouTube channel. It's called Reclaiming Peace. All you have to do is go to YouTube, look up Reclaiming Peace, and you can get to those. So how many have I done? 38, 39, something like that. You know, lots and lots of videos that you can go back, you know, and you can listen to. And there might be some things, seriously, that you haven't heard before. There might be some things that you go, that's not what I've heard, but I've heard that you can't break free if it's this. I've heard that you got to live with it because it's this or that. It's a chemical imbalance that runs in my family. Got to be on medication forever. I'm going to say some things in these videos, if you go back to watch them, or for you that have watched them, that you might be like, I don't know if I believe that, but I'll tell you something. There's many, many things that if I would have believed that that's the way it had to be, I wouldn't be free right now for almost 20 years. So, you know, God's amazing, and He has equipped you. He's equipped you with everything that you need to break free, and that's the truth. Hey, Tammy and Lindsay, how are you guys tonight? So anyways, I've been I've been saying that I'm going to let you know kind of what I did. Like this was sort of my journey out. So I'm going to kind of do a part 1, part 2. Tomorrow I'll be on again because this is kind of my Monday. And tomorrow's Wednesday, so I'll do another video tomorrow, actually. So, you know, I've gone through a little bit of this before, but just so that you can kind of understand, you know, where I was coming from, where I was with this. So, like I said, I was 11 when I had my first full-blown panic attack, right? But my life, I was adopted, came up here when I was almost 3. I do not remember a time where I was not fearing something, you know. So at 11, that's when it just, you know, blew up. First panic attack. Had no clue what was going on. Had no idea what was happening to my body, no clue. Didn't say anything to anybody. Slept the whole night with my hand on my chest thinking, I don't know, man, what's happening to me, or if I'm going to make it through this night or what. So again, like I said, I didn't do anything until I was about 16, so 5 years later. So this was kind of my journey. So what's the first thing? I talked to my parents about it. Yeah, maybe we better take you to the doctor, you know? So that was kind of my first thing. Let's go to the family doctor. Let's see what he says. Let's do a barrage of tests. You know, everything's cool. You know, there's nothing physically wrong. You know, they had me take some kind of, I don't want to say personality test, but I guess sort of mental, emotional health kind of test. And the conclusion was she's a growing teenager. Teenagers, you know, this kind of stuff happens to them. Don't worry about it. So that was what my parents told me. It's like, okay, and that should have made me feel good, right? There's nothing physically wrong, because quite honestly, I kind of thought there was, man. I thought, if there's nothing, you know, physically wrong, and then I would think, okay, they don't want to tell me. The doctor really knows that there's something wrong. This is what fear does. It lies. This is what fear does. It deceives. It lies. It makes you, you know. So I thought, nobody's telling me what's wrong. The doctor knows. He told my parents. They don't want to tell me because they don't want to alarm me, but there is something horrible wrong with me. I thought there has to be, the way I feel, the way I, you know, like I'm going crazy, like there's something physically, maybe I had a brain tumor, who knows what it could be. But I was convinced that they knew and wouldn't tell me. Right? So I go on for a while, and I'm still struggling with this through high school, man. I'm still, you know, going at it with, you know, maybe later in my teens, early in my 20s, maybe go to the doctor again. You know, no, everything's good. Everything checks out again physically, you know, the whole shot. But I'm not feeling any better, you know? So then I kind of go on a quest. I'm married for a couple years before I even tell my husband Ken that anything is wrong. He's got no clue, because by that time I had become very proficient at going through my day and dying inside, right? But on the outside, I'm looking okay. And, you know, quite honestly, it wasn't so much that it wasn't really like I was ashamed. I think I was like afraid to tell, because I was, you know, even though I had all these tests, I was still afraid to find out. I was afraid to find out what really could be wrong, because it was so horrible. You know, if you've gone through it, or if you're living with somebody who's going through it, or you know somebody who's going through this fear and anxiety and panic attacks. It's like there was like this fear to think like maybe if I don't talk about it, maybe it'll go away. Maybe, but you learn to live with it. You learn to cope with it. Well, once I told him, it was like, okay, I got to get what's going on. I'm giving birth to babies, 4 of them, through this whole time, and I mean, you guys who have been through it, it's not like you have a couple days or whatever. You have some time of reprieve, and sometimes you go, gosh, I've been feeling pretty good for a few days, but it like never lasted, right? So then I began to go on a quest. Like, what do you do, right? So you go to a psychologist because something's wrong up here, right? I'm going crazy. There's something emotionally, there's something mentally that's not right. So they listen to you. What do? They write a script, and they give me a script. And I'm not a big medicine taker. I've taken things before for other things, and I have very sensitive to it. And it was like, no, there was something in me that said, no, I'm not going to do this. As horrible as I felt, I'm like, I'm going to break free somehow, some way. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how it's going to happen, but darn it, it's not going to be with medicine. I'm telling you, that's just me. I'm like, I'm not doing it. I don't want the side effects. I don't want to be, so I would crumble it up, go to another one. I'm thinking maybe this will be different. Nope, I'll sit down and listen to you for an hour. I'm going to write you a script, and in 6 weeks, I want you to come back. We'll evaluate what's going on. Take that one, right? So then what do? I go to doctors, right? Psychologist, what else do you do? There's books, there's, so my husband comes home the one day. I mean, it's getting bad. It had always been, and somebody talked to him at work or something. There's this Christian psychiatric hospital in the Chicago area, and honey, I think that we should probably do that. And that's tough, because I'm like, man, I'm not like this mentally ill person. I'm like, I've got this issue with fear and anxiety and panic, but I'm like, I don't know what else to do. All right. So we drive down there, we check this place out, and it's like, they wanted me like, right, like, we think that you should come like right now, like drop her off. And I'm going, no, I mean, that's a nightmare to me, right? I don't know about any of you who have been through it, but to think I'm going to be away from my family. I have to be away from my family for a month. That was what they suggested. Like, I can barely go out of my house sometimes at this point. I can barely go to my kids' school and help out without, and I'm supposed to be in the Chicago area for a month to, so I was like, no, let's go home and kind of regroup, which we did for a couple of days, and then went back down. Obviously, I'd never done anything like that. It was a nice facility. It was a clean facility, but I had no clue, what was going to happen with that. My husband leaves, and I'm there with every kind of emotional and mental thing you can think of, with drug addicts, with schizophrenic people, with men with I don't even want to know how to say it, 3 of them in there with sexual appetite, oh gosh, I can't think of the word, addictions, yeah. You got to make your bed for a week before you can venture out here. You've got to do this for a couple days before you can eat in the cafeteria. Literally, we were making wreaths, and we were in, arts and crafts classes, and we were, all together in these group therapies that were like, this is not doing anything. Like, this is, I don't get it. And believe me, I was hungry. To do what I needed to do to break free. I mean, I had tried so many avenues. I think this is doing nothing. This is doing absolutely nothing. This isn't. So 3 weeks in there, I'm back home. And they're like, okay, we're going to suggest a counselor, a Christian counselor in your area to go to. All right, I'll do that. So I did that for 4 years. Nothing. And I'm going to put a disclaimer, which I've done before, because I'm not saying all Christian psychiatric hospitals are bad. I'm not saying all Christian counselors are bad. That's not my, But I'm saying I'm looking for results. Man, I'm looking to break free. I'm looking for you to give me something that is going to help me break free. I will do it. There was nothing after 4 years, right? So I am in bed the one night, and I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and there's an infomercial on TV. You know, this was in the 90s, mid-ish, later 90s or whatever. And I'm waking up, and I'm up, get up, and I'm anxious, right? So I'm watching this, and I'm seeing all these symptoms come across the TV. And I'm just like, yes, racing heart, feeling like you gotta flee, stomach issues, diarrhea, impending doom, feeling like you're gonna die. I'm watching all these symptoms, and I'm going, that's me. And I'm like waking my husband up. Hey, Debbie. And I'm going, honey, this is me. Like, this is me. This is who I am. And he's waking up, and I'm like, this describes it. Because it was hard for me to describe, what, if you've never gone through it, it's hard to, and it's easy for somebody to kind of look at you and go, like, I don't get it, really, like, is it that bad? Could it be that bad? Yeah, it's that bad. It's that bad. You know it if you've been through it. It's that bad. It's worse than that bad, right? Excuse me. It's hell. It's hell on earth. Fear, anxiety, panic attacks. Oh, torment, right? Torment for the mind and body. But I'm going, this is me. And we sat and we watched this infomercial on TV. And we're watching, people that, we broke free from this. This is what it is, anxiety and panic attacks. This is what, I'm watching it, until the end and stuff. And I'm going, oh my gosh. And at the end, they're like, okay, this is something you can purchase. And with shipping, it was $425. It was 16 cassettes in this workbook. And I'm thinking in my mind, like, my heart is saying, God, I want this. Like, I need this. There was something that just like resonated, right? But I'm going, we can't do that, like, we can't afford that. Like, I can't. And my husband just immediate was like, honey, we can't afford not to. Like, you've done everything. You've done it. You've psychiatric hospital counselors, psychiatrists, psychologists, read books, done this. He's like, this describes you perfectly. He's like, I can tell by your eye, I can tell by how you, that like, we got to do it. I don't care how much it costs. I'm thinking, we ordered it right then, right there, right? So it comes in, still available right now. Actually, it's still available. It's a little bit less money than actually it was then. That was kind of a big deal. We had to pay for some of the counseling that I did, kind of on a sliding scale. So they did it by your income and things. But we had already spent money, trying to get to the bottom of this. So anyways, I get this program, right, and it had a little brochure with it. And I was so excited. And I took it to my Christian counselor that I was going to at that time in the area. And I'm like, hey, look at what I have. I'm like, I purchased this thing. And I'm like, look at the brochure. And he's looking at the brochure, which outlines each of the topics. And I knew some of the topics, well, some of them I didn't really quite understand, but I was like, I'm going to, do this. Some of them I knew I didn't need, weren't as applicable, but he said, don't you dare do it. No joke. It's like, don't you dare do that. And I'm like, why? And he's like, well, I said, I thought maybe I could, kind of combine, like I can keep going here. But I said, I haven't had a lot of traction in 4 years. There hasn't been a lot. So I this is, people have had results with this, and he's like, no, I wouldn't do it. And it was endorsed by a pastor, kind of a famous pastor at that time. And I said, this pastor even endorses it. I'm like, I don't think it's like a Christian program. But he just said, no, I don't like that pastor anyway. So I just wouldn't do it. And I remember after leaving his office that day, I was so discouraged. My husband was out in the car, like waiting for me. One of our kids was little at the time and was with us, and I was like, man, he's like saying no. He's like saying don't do it. And I'm thinking in my heart, oh my gosh, like my first inclination was, well, he's the professional, like maybe I shouldn't. But something rose up in me that said, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this program that I just paid $425 for. And quite honestly, I have like any bad feelings, but I didn't go back there anymore. I didn't go back to the counselor anymore after 4 years. And I did this program. It was a 16-week thing. Most all of it was pretty applicable. Some of the sessions were not that I did. Some of the cassettes and stuff. And after I got done, I did it again. I was like, I'm feeling some reprieve here and stuff, so I'm going to go at it again. So it's at 32 weeks, and that did more for me than anything that I had done thus far. And had I listened and not done it, had I listened to the professional at that time saying no, I mean, he was adamant. He was adamant. In fact, he said, if you do it, then I won't. That was the deal. Yes, if you do it, then I won't work with you anymore. So that was the deal. Yeah, I kind of forgot about that. So, hey, Dana. So that's why I went out like dejected, thinking, but then I thought, you know what? I've been with him 4 years. I've been with this counselor 4 years with no reprieve, with not even a glimmer, And like I said before, I'm a doer. I kept looking for things to like with this count, like, what are you going to give me? What tangible things can you give me that I can take away? But man, there was nothing. But I got more than I had gotten from anything that I had done thus far. Any psychiatrist, any of the psychologists, counselor, Christian Psychiatric Hospital, books that I had read, doctors that I had gone to that offered their advice for it. This program that was $425 that I felt like there's no way we can afford it, but my husband's like, we got to do it, did more for me than any of those other things. Any of those. But then there's a part two. There's a part two with this. And something that I was able to do to expound on it, to even add more to it than what it was, that was like the icing on the cake. And that allowed me to completely break free from fear, anxiety, and panic attacks with no medication, no, I don't know, any kind of thing that people are talking about. Like, people have asked me about different substances and different natural things and different, that you can do, and I'm sure it's all good, but it's been with none of that. So what I'm going to do tomorrow, because I think I'm probably kind of long tonight, is I'm going to share that part of it with you, kind of part two of this. Some of you that are watching might know, you know what it is or what. But God just put the icing on the cake, and just His wisdom, came in, and and just did what would have been impossible. And to me, breaking free from this is a miracle. It's an absolute miracle. It didn't happen overnight. I did a video on that the one time, that it's like, sometimes we equate miracles with instant, instant. It doesn't, to me, it's like, it didn't matter that it wasn't instant. It didn't matter that it's no less a miracle that I am free from this, than if it would have happened in an instant. And there was a lot that God needed to teach me. There was a lot that God needed to show me in order that my freedom would stay there, in order that it would be lasting freedom. Not a quick fix, not just let's do this or let's do that, Let's do something for you, Heidi, that's going to produce lasting freedom. And that's what it's done for me and for others as well. So anyway, I know I'm kind of leaving you hanging, so you come back tomorrow and listen to part 2 of this, my journey through. Now it's like, now I'm truly, going to say my journey out. What happened in order for me to come out and to break free, to break those walls of fear, anxiety, and panic attack for good. So anyway, so that's it for tonight, and tomorrow I'll be back tomorrow evening with part 2 of this, and it's cool. It's awesome, and I'm nobody special. I am nobody special. The Bible says that God is no respecter of persons. What He does for one, He'll do for any that come to Him in faith, believing what? That He is so much bigger than this, and that what He has put in you is so much bigger than fear, anxiety, and panic attacks. But not only is God no respecter of persons, either is the enemy of your soul no respecter of persons. He doesn't care. He doesn't care who he can pound with this fear, anxiety, the torment, the thoughts, it can happen to anybody, right? I've done several videos on famous people, on a pastor just recently, right? So, So this is to give you so much hope, I've said this before, and I just said it again. You have everything in you already to break free. God does not want you living in fear. He does not want you living anxious or depressed. None of that. None of that. The enemy's a liar. He's a liar. And he's deceiving, and he lies, and he torments you with thoughts and things that just make you feel like you're going crazy. But you're not. You're not. So anyway, that is it. That's it for tonight. And again, I'll be back tomorrow, and I'm going to share the rest of my journey out. So it'll be good. I don't know what time. Maybe around the same time. Maybe around 8:30 or something like that. But thank you for listening. I know tonight was kind of longer. And again, remember, I'm going to put the link up here again, but you can go to now a YouTube channel. Reclaiming Peace is what it is, and all the videos are up there. Not all of them yet. I'm going to put a few more up there tonight, some new ones. But there's a lot. There's 20. There should be about 35 by the end of the night, and they're all right there. All the topics are right there. And man, they're for you. They're for you. They're wisdom from above for you. Little nuggets that you can listen to, and that you can say, oh my goodness, I'm going to do that. Or, oh my gosh, I've never thought about that. It makes you think. And if it tweaks you a little, if it's like, ooh, I don't know about that, that means you should listen all the more. It's not my wisdom, it's God's wisdom. I'm the vessel. I'm just the vessel that He's using to bring hope and freedom to people who need it. So anyways, thanks. Have a good night, and I'll see you back tomorrow.